Hello and welcome into this week's NASCAR Xfinity Series Rewind show right here on Racing News Now. As always, I'm your host, Garth Allen. Thank you once again for joining me today. If this is your first time catching a Racing News Now video, consider going down below to hit that subscribe button and ring the bell for notifications so you don't miss a thing going forward from RNN. On today's Xfinity Rewind, the final Xfinity Rewind of 2019. Looking back at the season finale, the 25th annual Ford EcoBoost 200 laps, 300 miles, around the mile and a half Homestead Miami Speedway in Homestead, Florida, just outside of Miami. Of course, coming into this race, we had a very stout championship four coming into this race. We had what was touted as the Xfinity Big Three this season. Christopher Bell came into this race with 8 wins on the season, Cole Custer with 7 wins, and Tyler Reddick with 5 wins. Then we had Justin Allgaier, who was kind of the model of consistency this season, had not won a race until last week at Phoenix, which put him into the championship four. So, who would come out victorious in this major heavyweight battle? 3 of these guys, all of the big 3, moving up to Cup next year. They're going to be vying for Rookie of the Year next year in the Cup Series, just like they were for the championship this year at Xfinity. And it's going to be, if this is any indication, we're going to have a fantastic Rookie of the Year battle in Cup in 2020 because these guys put on one heck of a championship battle. For the race, one driver failed to qualify. That was the 66 car of Bobby Earnhardt. 7 caution flags in this race for a total of 35 laps. First one came at lap 6 very early as the 07 of Randall Burnett Jr. Had a major engine blow up on the front stretch and trying to get the car slowed down, couldn't get it slowed down in time into turn 1 and ends up spinning himself through the grass in turn 1 through the oil or whatever it was that he was putting down at that point and carrying a little bit too much speed for what was happening, and then just kind of spins himself through turn 1. That would be the end of the day for Ray Black Jr. out very early in this one. Lap 16, the 15 of Tyler Matthews wrecks in turn 4. Lap 34, debris in turn 3. Stage 1 concluded lap 45 with Chase Briscoe taking the stage 1 victory. Lap 91, we had debris in turn 1, and this would turn into the stage 2 break, which was won by Austin Cindric. So far, through the first 2 stages, none of the championship 4 have won a stage. But up until this point, and as we get into the 3rd stage, all 4 would become majorly relevant. At one point, we had pretty much all 4 of them under a blanket. Christopher Bell was leading at one point in the final stage, and the other 3 were 3 wide for second. That's how intense this championship battle got. Final cautions of the race, we had 2 of them. Lap 98, debris in turn 4, and lap 124, the 98 of Chase Briscoe tags the wall in turn number 1. 15 lead changes among 6 drivers in this race. 84 laps were led by Tyler Reddick. That was the most in this race. 40 laps went to Austin Cindric. 37 laps were led by Christopher Bell. 15 laps went to Cole Custer, 14 laps to Chase Briscoe, and 10 laps were led by Noah Gragson. All right, so as we came down the stretch into this final stage, like I said, this was a very intense championship battle. Unfortunately, Justin Allgaier kind of faded late in that 3rd stage, wasn't really a factor. And then it became the big 3 fighting for the championship as they have all season. We've seen this time and time again this season. You look at the finishing order, you look at the running order at any point during a race, and a lot of times you would at least have 2 of these guys running up front in the top 2 positions or the top 3 depending on the race, and it was no difference here. These 3 clearly were the best drivers this season. They're talking about Christopher Bell, Tyler Reddick, and Cole Custer. There was nobody week in and week out better than these 3, and these 3 were all at the top of their game every week, and it was no different here in Homestead. Like I said, at one point, all 3 of them under a blanket. The final pit stop in stage number 3 was partially what cost Christopher Bell this race. He missed pit road under green flag pit stops, missed pit road the first time around, which was not as detrimental as I thought it would be. He still, after all the pit stops cycled out, still came out in front of Custer and Reddick. But his car started really fading in that last stage. Both Custer and Reddick were able to get by him shortly after the pit stops cycled around, and Bell just continued to fade throughout this final stage and was never really a factor. I think he was like 13 seconds behind the leaders at the end of the race. So Bell really was not a factor. He faded into obscurity in the third spot in the playoffs. So that set up Tyler Reddick and Cole Custer to go for this championship, and they put on a fantastic battle for this win. Cole Custer, someone we've become accustomed to being very good at Homestead, picked up his first Xfinity victory at Homestead a couple years ago. Almost won this race last year for the championship, so no surprise he was up there fighting for the win with Tyler Reddick, who won this race last year for the championship, driving for a different team with Junior Motorsports. So coming down the stretch here, we had these two Goliathans side by side. Reddick pulls a slide job in 1 and 2, takes the lead, got it to stick a lot more than I think even he thought it would. Custer didn't even have enough momentum to cross back over off of turn 2. Custer tries a slide job in 3 and 4, can't get it to stick as well as Reddick did. Reddick crosses back over, takes the lead back, and that was the end of it. Reddick started pulling away after that point, and Tyler Reddick would go on to win the Ford EcoBoost 300 and the 2019 NASCAR Xfinity Series Championship over Cole Custer, who came home in the second position. Like I said, a fantastic battle between these two, and Tyler Reddick comes home with the victory. He cements his place in Xfinity Series history by becoming the first driver to win back-to-back championships for different teams. Again, he won last year's championship for Junior Motorsports, this year driving for Richard Childress Racing. Very, very huge accomplishment. And one of those things where a lot of people doubted the legitimacy of his championship last year. Didn't have the best year last year. Somewhat did what Matt Crafton did and just kind of pointed his way all through the season, into each round and into the championship for. Only win he had going into Homestead last year was the season opener at Daytona. Had a huge slump in the middle of the season, and then just barely did enough to make it through each round to get to Homestead last year, but then ends up winning the race and the championship. This year was so much different. 6 wins total this season, this being the 6th. Obviously considered one of the big 3 this season in the Xfinity Series. Tyler Reddick, I think, silenced the naysayers this season and showed that while he may not have had a good season last year, he did win the championship last year, but now he had a great season this year and showed that he does have the talent and he does belong in this sport. And he's very deserving of a Cup Series ride. I'm worried that we're not going to quite see what we did out of Reddick this year when he moves up to Cup next year, because I think it's become very apparent that RCR's Cup program is not where their Xfinity program is in terms of performance. So I'm worried that no matter how talented Tyler Reddick is, probably not going to see this level of performance out of him at least next year. He may be able to elevate that program in the coming years to where they are race winning and championship contending, but I don't see that happening in 2020. Hopefully he proves me wrong, but nonetheless, fantastic drive out of Tyler Reddick this season, coming home with the championship. Cole Custer just barely missing out there in the second position. Chase Briscoe, even after his late incident, came back for a strong third-place finish. Noah Gragson led some laps and was strong in this race. He came home in 4th, and Christopher Bell faded to 5th at the end of the race. Rest of your top 10, John Hunter Nemechek, Austin Cindric, Brandon Jones, Jeb Burton, and Harrison Burton. 11th through 20th, we see Michael Annett here in 11th, your Daytona winner from the first race of the season. Justin Allgaier faded all the way to 14th at the end of the race. Unfortunately, not able to contend for the championship late like he was wanting to, but still a good season. Not I think, what they were looking for this season. Definitely, I'm sure, especially after what their 2018 season looked like with all the race wins in 2018, definitely not what they were looking for this season. But did make it to the championship for this year, which they just barely missed out on in 2018. So they did make it further in the playoffs, even if they only did pick up the 1 win last week in Phoenix. Landon Castle, They're in the 15th position. Want to give a shout out to him in that 89 car for Morgan Shepherd. That is, I saw a stat on this a little bit ago. That's the first top 15 finish for that 89 car, that Morgan Shepherd car, since 2009. So kudos to Landon Castle. He's very much outperforming that 89 car and where it probably should be running. And I think Landon Castle right now really proving that he does have the talent. And hopefully this gets some eyeballs on him and puts him in some better equipment in 2020. 21st through 30th, Colin Garrett making the debut for that Sam Hunt Racing team in the Xfinity Series there in the 26th. He came home with a respectable 21st place finish, 2 laps down. Will Rogers in the 86th this week for Brandon Built Motorsports. He came home in 22nd. Final page, 31st through 38th, Justin Haley had a major hit in the middle of the race. Misjudged. I don't know if he got tight or misjudged the exit off the corner, but kind of ran into Harrison Burton at one point, and wasn't able to get the car fixed quick enough to get back out on the track and make minimum speed, and unfortunately hit that 6-minute clock and had to bring it back behind the wall. Had a fast car, though, third in the first stage, so I think he would have been contending for a strong finish had he made it to the end, but 33rd where Justin Haley would finish his rookie season in that 11 car for Colleague Racing. All right, so that is your results from the Ford EcoBoost 300. Let's head over to the Media Center. We'll see what Tyler and his team had to say after this win and this championship.
Well, I knew we had a really good team, right? We've run well. We've performed well, but obviously we had some work to do to get caught up with the Gibbs cars and the Stewart-Haas cars and this, that, and the other. To bring in, Tyler's capability and put him into that car and see what we really had been working so hard on was pretty amazing. It's big shoes to fill, right? Like, he just won the championship, and you got him coming in, and you're like, okay, well, that's not going to be the problem. You got the guy to do it, right? So it was on us to give him the stuff to perform with, and I think our group rallied really well. I think we brought fast race cars all year. We had some insane amount of top fives, so we were competing for the win all the time. We gave a few away. We won 6 or whatever. So, it's just been an incredible year. He's an incredible talent. He can elevate a car from 3rd or 5th to 1st pretty easy with a good shot at it,
Coming down pit road, dodging the people.
Oops. I messed that up. Well, I knew we needed to get the tires checked, and I didn't want to, go right to doing burnouts. I wanted to get that checked right away, and I thought I had to go down pit road to then come back out by turn 1. So I should have just backed up, but it's all good. I got to make a mistake somewhere along the way. It's part of it. It was awesome. I mean, the first one was special, but this one means more, and it's special in different ways on top of it. From the moment me and Richard sat down last year about talking about doing something this current year and how much, excitement and faith he had in my driving ability, and he thought we could, well before I won the championship at Junior Motorsports, he thought I could be a champion, and, did it last year at Junior Motorsports, but this year we did it more consistently, had the most top 5s, maybe not led the most laps, but we tooth and clawed our way for every top 5, every top 10, and that got us regular season championship, and that allowed us to, go through the playoffs in a manner that allowed us to get here, even when we made a few mistakes along the way. So just hats off to this team. I wrecked a few really good race cars that we were planning on bringing here, and we brought our 3rd option, and it was amazing. It was a great car, great team, and we just did what we needed to do to win the championship and the race with it.
Lee, I think he's amazing talent. I seen that before he even won his first championship, watching him race, and he drove some loose race cars that year for junior. Those guys really loose. It gets you in trouble. And the first thing I told Randall, I said, you keep him tight enough, he'll go out and win a lot of races for us, and he did. And we're so excited. I just felt if we could get here, we'd have a great shot of winning the championship. And the talent that he's got, next year is going to raise RCR to another level. We've changed so much this year. I'm as excited about next year as I have been in a long time. Having Tyler in a Cup car and the things that we know he can do and what he'll bring to RCR.
All right, we'll take a quick look at your final top 10 in points before wrapping up here today. Like we said, obviously Tyler Reddick picks up the win in Homestead and the championship. Cole Custer came home with a respectable second-place finish. Christopher Bell there in third, of course. These three all moving up to Cup next year. Tyler Reddick will be in the 8 for Richard Childress Racing. Cole Custer just announced this week he will be in the 41 at Stewart-Haas Racing next year, and Christopher Bell moving up to the 95 at Levine Family Racing. So I think we've got a very stout Rookie of the Year class for 2020 next year, and it'll be fun to watch which of them comes out on top in the Rookie of the Year. See if it comes out in the same order that it did here in the Xfinity Series. That'll be fun to watch. Good year for Justin Allgaier. Not great. Again, like we were talking about, only the one win, but did make it to the championship 4. So looking to build off that next year. We know Justin Allgaier's got the talent. I think he will eventually pick up a championship. And maybe that's in 2020. We'll see. But unfortunately, 2019, not the year for Justin Allgaier. Chase Briscoe, good rookie season for him. Picks up the Rookie of the Year honors there with that 5th place finish in points. So congratulations to Chase Briscoe on those Rookie of the Year honors. I think he will continue to build that in the 2020 season. And I think we'll see Chase Briscoe in the championship 4 next year. It depends, obviously depends who's with him in the championship 4 if he wins the championship next year. But I think we see Chase Briscoe in the championship 4 next year. A good season for Austin Cindric as well there in 6th. Picked up his first 2 wins this season, both on road courses, but still first 2 race wins nonetheless. I think we'll see more building from that in the 2020 season for Austin. I think we'll see a fairly deep playoff run like we did this season from him next year, maybe even a championship 4 appearance for him as well. John Hunter Nemechek. I think that was a decent season for them there in the 7th position. Probably not what they were exactly looking for. I'm sure they thought they could pick up a win this season. Unfortunately, never really had the speed for that. I don't know that there was ever any real race this season where we looked at the 23 car and said that's a real race-winning contender in this race. I don't know that there was ever a race like that this season, but they were consistently a top 10 team all this year. Didn't even pick up a stage win. So in fact, they are the highest finishing car to not have playoff points. They had 0 playoff points for that 23 car this season. Actually, the only driver in the playoffs this year to not have any playoff points. Everyone else in the top 12 in points had at least 1 playoff point this season. John Hunter Nemechek, the only driver not to pick up playoff points this season in the playoffs. Noah Gragson, very strong rookie season for him. I think we expected a little bit more out of him in that 9 car. Did not pick up that first win, but I think we saw some flashes of brilliance, and I think he'll continue to improve on that in the 2020 season. I think we'll finally see that first Xfinity win out of Noah Gragson in 2020, and maybe even a couple more after that. I think we'll see a deep playoff run out of Noah Gragson in 2020, maybe even a championship 4 appearance. So keep an eye on that 9 car in 2020. I think we'll see some good things out of him, as well as his teammate here, Michael Annett. Very big improvement of a year for Michael Annett, of course, picking up that first win at Daytona, and a lot stronger performance overall than what we have seen out of him in recent years. I think we're finally seeing the true potential of Michael Annett, and I think he'll just continue improving from here. I think we'll see more wins out of Michael Annett in 2020, and we'll see what he does come playoff time, but I think we're going to see another really good year out of Michael Annett in 2020. Brandon Jones, good year for him, picked up that first win at Kansas in the playoffs. Unfortunately, had been eliminated at that point, so it didn't do anything for him in the playoffs, but still did pick up that first win, and of course has re-signed next year with that 19 car with JGR, so he will be back next year. Looking to pick up a few more wins next season. But that's your final top 10 in points in the NASCAR Xfinity Series after the Ford EcoBoost 300. And I think that'll do it for us on this final Xfinity Rewind of 2019. If you haven't seen it, we have a rewind for the Ford EcoBoost 200, the Truck Series finale, that went up late last night after their race. Of course, that got rain delayed and pushed late into the night. So The Rewind show went up very late as well, but we do have that for you. If you haven't seen it, go check that out. It should be the last video that went up here on the channel. Then we'll have a rewind for the Ford EcoBoost 400 tomorrow night for the Cup Series finale as Kyle Busch, Martin Truex, Denny Hamlin, and Kevin Harvick go for that championship over there on the Cup side, the final Monster Energy NASCAR Cup Series championship before the whole restructuring of the sponsorship model for the Cup Series. So that'll be a fun one to watch tomorrow. Very strong drivers. I think those are definitely the 4 strongest drivers we've had all season in the Cup Series, as I think we had the 4 strongest drivers all season in the Xfinity Series Championship 4. So I think that has worked itself out, and I think whoever wins tomorrow will be a pretty deserving champion. I don't think there's going to be anybody that wins tomorrow that anybody can say, oh, he didn't deserve that. Like, we've had a few drivers in recent years that some fans look at and say, oh, that wasn't a deserving championship. They only won it because of the format, blah, blah, blah. I don't think we've got anybody like that in the championship for tomorrow. No matter who gets it, they've had a good enough season to definitely deserve it. But look out for that Rewind show tomorrow. If you haven't done it already, you need to go down below, hit that subscribe button, ring the bell for notifications so you don't miss a thing going forward from RNN. While you're down there, why don't you hit that big thumbs up button if you like the video. It is much appreciated when you do. But at that, this has been the NASCAR Xfinity Series Rewind Show, the final of 2019. I'm Garth Allen for Racing News Now.